It's Wednesday, May the 11th. Lake level is right at 9:15 and a half. Water temperature this morning was right at about 71 degrees when I put in. That's the warmest it's been in a while. We've actually gained quite a bit in the last week or so. And that seems to be moving the fish and the bait and stuff around quite a bit. Now, there's a lot of different things happening throughout the lake. We're still, in the middle of the spawn. I think I'm seeing a lot more bass fry the last week or so than I have, which kind of tells you that there's a lot of the fish have spawned. There's getting to be a lot of bluegill on the bank. They're trying to spawn. And the shad are trying to spawn. So, different areas of the lake. It's been a good topwater bite. Some days it lasts up till about 9 o'clock or so, but I'm not finding it all over the lake. Seems like where the water's the clearest, the topwater bite's working a little bit better. And how I'm catching them on tops, a variety of different baits. We're catching some on Czar spooks, jointed redfins, a lot of swim baits, grubs. You kind of got to mix it up. If every once in a while you'll see the fish busting some shad, and you may not be able to get them to hit a hard bait like a topwater bait. Now, a lot of the topwater baits I'm throwing on the hard baits, it's like a Strike King Sexy Dog. That's about the size of a Super Spook, and the Sexy Dog Junior. And I'm throwing a variety of different colors. I don't know where my redfin is here. I'm probably sitting on here. But a jointed redfin will also work, or a Rapala or a Storm Thunderstick. That's what this one here is. But the jointed redfin's about the same thing. Now, if I can't get them to bite that, I've been catching them on a fluke. And a couple different flukes I'm throwing. This is like a bait fish color. This other one is just a pearl or white. And this is a little bit slower presentation, a little bit more subtle. Seems like when they won't hit the topwater bait, they will hit the fluke or swim bait. Swim baits, different swim baits I'm throwing. This is a buddy of mine makes these. It's a 3.5, but I've got it on a fish head. Pig Sticker makes one. Jewel makes one called a squirrel head. A lot of times we just call it an underspin. This is a Swimming Hornet, this brand. It's a ½ ounce. I'll throw a 3/8 and a ½ ounce. And I'll just cast this out to where the schooling fish are, drop it down to about 5 feet and reel it in like a spinnerbait. But, this is a bait that you can also throw when catching some fish, like on bluff ends, where you got transitions where like a shallow flat comes up to a main channel or deep water. Setting the boat in, 30, 40 feet, casting this around timber or up to the flat in about 8 feet or so, and working it back. And the same thing as far as a grub and swim bait is working in the same area. And here's another underspin that I'll throw on light line. It's a 3/16 ounce. I've got a 5-inch smoked chomper's grub on this one. A Kitech 3.8 will work. And as far as the grubs, I'm throwing a smoke with red flake, salt and pepper, and even a 2.8 Kitech will work. Now, a lot of the grubs I've been throwing out on these main lake gravel flats. It seems like I got to keep the boat in, anywhere from 25 to as deep as 35. The fish seem to be holding around 20 to 25 feet of water, about 12 to 15 foot deep. Now, most of these Kentuckys have not spawned yet. I mean, their bellies are plumb full. There's been some good-sized Kentuckys. That bite is getting, a little bit better each day. Some days when the wind's blowing real hard, it's real hard to fish for them because we're, usually fishing light line. I usually like to use 6 pound, no heavier than 8. And some line that I will use quite a bit, I haven't been much of a braid person, but I'm throwing more and more braid on a spinning rod than I ever used to. This particular one, I've got my fluke rigged up on it. I've got about a 12-inch leader, then a swivel. Swivel helps keep the twist out of the line, also gives it a little weight. Then I've got about a 6-foot, 8-pound mono leader, and I'm using a new braid that Luz has. And this is a 10-pound test, but it's the diameter of 2 pound. Then you'll notice right here where the knot is, it's a surgeon's knot, and I can show you how to tie that, but it'll take me about the length of the video sometimes. But if you just Google it, it's a surgeon's knot, and they show going back through the loop with it twice. I like to do 3 times because it holds a lot better. But like I say, I've had real good luck. This box here is 20 pound, 6 pound diameter. The one I've been using the most is 10 pound, and it's 2 pound diameter. But it's really smooth for braid. It casts real good. I can get a lot longer cast, a lot more sensitive. I can feel a lot of them grub bites that are real subtle. And I'll use the same thing on the grub. I'll tie about an 8-foot leader. I don't have any trouble with this knot coming through the eyelets. And the main thing, if you're throwing 10 pound line all day on a spinning rod, you'd be fighting the loops in the memory. With the braid, you don't have that problem at all. So it's really been working out pretty good for me on that light line stuff. And like I say, it's pretty versatile. I've been throwing with a fluke. I've been throwing a top water bait on it. If a person doesn't like to throw a bait caster, this way you can get by with a little bit heavier line on a spinning rod and throw a lot of the same tackle. As far as the bottom bite, I'm really struggling to find a consistent bite on the main lake and secondary points in that 15 to 25 foot of water. The majority of the fish I'm catching in that depth are suspended. We've had a few days where we've had a good spinnerbait and squarebill bite. If you get a day where the wind's blowing real hard, you can get up in front of the buckbrush, which got just enough water to hold some fish, but there are some fish out in front of the buckbrush on some ledger banks. And I'm using like a Strike King 1.5 or 2.5 squarebill and a chartreuse sexy shad, or a spinnerbait. Chartreuse and white will work real good. I like this War Eagle. It's a 3/8 ounce. It's got a little white and purple with a couple strands of chartreuse, tandem willow blade. Now that bite seems to be kind of, for me anyways, getting less and less. I think as more of those fish are getting done spawning on them rock ledges, they're moving out there a little bit deeper. Still suspended, not on bottom. I think in another week or so we'll start to see a lot, the bottom bite to be a lot better. Now you can get up there shallow and catch them on the bottom on a Ned rig or a grub, but I'm finding a lot of those fish seem to be getting smaller and smaller as well. I think a lot of the better fish starting to move out, and as they move out and start to rest up, they should feed a little bit more regular, where we get like a Carolina rig bite and a football bite. My bite on those type baits has been really sporadic. I'll fish 4 or 5 points, and I'll catch 2 or 3 fish in that 15 to 20 foot range, and a lot of them have been Kentuckys. I have been catching a lot more Kentuckys the past week than I have all spring, which is telling me that a lot of them Kentuckys that I thought had been out over that deeper water are now starting to move in. I don't even think the majority of the Kentuckys, have started to spawn. So I think we're going to have another, 2-3 weeks of spawning, kind of mixed. There'll be some largemouth, some smallmouth, but the majority of them are going to be spotted bass. But looks like the weather's going to hold up and stay warm, which will get the shad spawn going. And a lot of that shad spawn seems to be happening, which it usually does, around the deep boat docks, around a lot of the pole timber. You see, those shad will lay their eggs on a fixed object. They're not like a bass or a bluegill where they'll go up and make a bed on the bank. They'll actually put the eggs on the styrofoam around the docks and around the pole timber. And what we call the shad bite seems to last about an hour or 2 in the morning, where the shad are real active and the fish are up chasing them. But if you can find them fish, on a top water bait or even a swim bait, the fish are going to be in the same area once the shad kind of settle down and go back down to the bottom. But you can still try to catch them on a fluke or a swim bait in them same timbered areas. You just got to let that bait get down about 10 to 12 feet. That the underspin will work real good doing that. Another bite that's going to start to come on is the flutter spoon here in the next week or 2. Should be real good. But till next week, good luck, good fishing.